Heroes rise and heroes fall. That is the nature of war, battle, and humanity. Nevertheless, throughout the Legend of Zelda series, this has been an unheard of notion except from the alternate outcome of the climax in Ocarina of Time. But, just as with the other conventions in the Legend of Zelda series, this is about to change inside Breath of the Wild. Hello everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Inside the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Today, we will go deep into the chronology of events that led to the eventual fall of the Kingdom Hyrule, its mainland, and its capital. Since The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, as a both emotionally dark thematically game with a bright and colourful world, is about to break the established convention that the hero doesn't fall in a Zelda game. But first, if you haven't noticed already, this episode will contain heavy spoilers, so, for that matter, you have been warned. In the Breath of the Wild Switch story trailer, we finally got to know that in the present post-apocalyptic times, after traversing through Hyrule from the Great Plateau, you ultimately reach a forest filled with Koroks and, surprise surprise, the Great Deku Tree, keeping guard over the ruined Master Sword in its pedestal.
It's here that the Great Deku Tree says the famous lines,
"That look on your face tells me that you have no recollection of me, however.
I think you are now ready to hear what happened 100 years ago."
These memories from the past have already been confirmed in the newest build of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. So the question remains, will these sections of story be told purely through cutscenes, or additionally contain some bound story gameplay sections from the past, similar to Ciri sections found in The Witcher 3? Even so, it's implied from both the Great Deku Tree and the Old Man that Hyrule before the fall 100 years ago was a strong, prosperous kingdom, and at the top of it there was one ruler, the father of Zelda, the King of Hyrule. As you certainly know by now, Calamity Ganon, an unmatched beast and evil force, invaded the peaceful, divine and pure Hyrule and left it in ruins, and its central province as an utter wasteland. In fact, the Breath of the Wild Master Edition includes a tapestry that depicts the map of Hyrule on the main side and a historical depiction of the Great War against Calamity Ganon on its reverse. So what do we see on the reverse side? Naturally, Calamity Ganon in the middle, surrounded by Link and Zelda, an army of Sheikah Guardians, and 4 mechanical Sheikah beasts charging from the 4 corners of Hyrule.
In the northeast we have a chameleon. This is the same behemoth we have seen encircling Death Mountain, the home of the Gorons in the demos. In the southeast we have an elephant heading for what must be Zora's domain, the home of the Zoras. In the southwest we have a colossal camel hailing from the Gerudo Desert, the home of the Gerudo tribe. And finally, in the tall mountains of the northwest, we have a giant bird tied to the bird tribe that we saw in the Life in the Ruins trailer. What is more interesting is that it appears that each of the Colossi have military commanders standing on top of them, pointing in the direction of Calamity Ganon. Yep, Reggie, spoiled the backstory for The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. If that was not enough, the reverse side of the tapestry depicts Hylians and contains Sheikah text, which thanks to the courtesy of Zeltek and his loyal helpers on Discord, has been translated and transcribed with the following words.
Hylians pass stories of a destined time long past, where multiple races lived and worked together in harmony. The Sheikah tribe's blue aura breathed through the land, and this mutual prosperity continued until a cataclysmic disaster struck. The hero and the princess attempted in vain to seal the terror, which became known as the Calamity Ganon. Divine beasts woke from 4 directions and deployed a mechanical army, which made the king and his people fearful. They fractured Ganon's power and sealed him, but the Sheikah were banished from the land ever since.
In other words, Hyrule, before the Great War, was a divine land in harmony where the Hylians, Sheikah, Goron, Zora, Gerudo and bird tribes lived in peace with each other. Through the utilization of ancient blue Sheikah technology, the land and the people prospered in wealth and bounds. However, this golden age of prosperity met to a sudden end with Calamity Ganon's invasion. Calamity Ganon spread chaos and corruption upon Hyrule, but did also with his actions cause the awakening of a new hero, this era's Link, who claimed the Master Sword from the pedestal protected by the Great Deku Tree. It is probable that following this act, just as seen in the Life in the Ruins trailer, Link approached Zelda and the King of Hyrule. In the Switch trailer, we know that the king at some point around this time urged Link to keep his daughter alive throughout the crisis, as they would challenge the power of the Calamity Ganon. Zelda and Link departed on their spiritual journey, while the king must have stayed behind for a little longer but eventually abandoned the castle when Calamity Ganon was closing in. The holiest site, Hyrule Castle, fell.
Link followed Zelda on her ritual path to reclaim the lost roots and powers of Hylia, the goddess of light, in order to deal with the Calamity Ganon. After bathing in the same ruined springs from Skyward Sword, as seen in the Switch trailer, she was ready to aid Link in their struggle to seal Calamity Ganon, which, if we are to believe this official tapestry, ultimately failed. It's probable that the reason for this defeat was that Calamity Ganon heavily damaged the Master Sword, and despite following in Hylia's footsteps, Zelda's effort was futile. Faced by the danger of the Calamity Ganon and the unsuccessful ongoing battle among Link, Zelda and the Beast, the Sheikah saw no other option but to take matters into their own hands to ensure victory. Unbeknownst to the king, they activated the 4 divine beasts in the 4 corners of the land and deployed a mechanical army of mobile guardians to turn the tides of the war, and offer Link and Zelda support in their battle against Calamity Ganon.
Despite good intentions, the Sheikah's premature actions were flawed, and naturally, the Calamity Ganon exploited this great blunder to corrupt the Sheikah Guardians and the Divine Beasts. As a result, instead of aiding Link and Zelda in the strive to seal the Calamity Ganon and protect the kingdom from evil, the Guardians and Divine Beasts became the evil they were meant to destroy. But did Calamity Ganon kill Link in the confrontation? No. From the Switch story trailer we know that Link with the ruined Master Sword and Zelda were both alive when the corrupted Guardians chased them through one of the forests. As a result, we believe that both Princess Zelda and Link used the Sheikah Guardian attack on Calamity Ganon as a distraction to get away from the confrontation alive, on most likely Epona. A clear sign of this possibility is that the Guardians seen in the annihilation scene of Castle Town in the trailer are clearly corrupted and are heading in the opposite direction away from Calamity Ganon, toward the fountain, destroying everything in their path as if they were chasing something or someone. If Link and Zelda were fleeing from the battle site, it would have been logical that Calamity Ganon would have sent the corrupted Guardians to hunt them down.
It is around this time we believe that Zelda's breakdown cutscene took place before a Guardian caught up with them and killed this era's opponent. With no horse, the two could do nothing but run, but eventually 3 Guardians would catch up to them. Despite the desperate attempt to flee, Zelda was unable to keep up with Link's pace and had to let go of his grip. Unwilling to leave Zelda to a certain death by the corrupted Guardians, Link kept the promise that he gave to the king and went back to protect Zelda from the Guardians. At this moment, the 3 corrupted Sheikah Guardians most likely surrounded the two and set their aim to eliminate the only person who could take down Calamity Ganon, Link. As the hero, he likely slayed 2 of the Guardians but was severely wounded and soon fell to his knees. As the last Guardian was targeting Link's head, Zelda, in a desperate attempt to maintain Hyrule's only hope, utilised what would be Hylia's power of light, but it was too little, too late, as the Guardian's beam pierced and mortally wounded Link. One thing in this context worth noticing is the powerful bond between Link and Zelda. Both were willing to die in order to keep each other alive.
With the fall of Link, Zelda likely in fury killed the last Guardian, and did what she could to bring Link to the Sheikah. They brought his fatally wounded body or even corpse to the Resurrection Shrine to eventually be revived and rise up to once again face Calamity Ganon when the time arrived. Meanwhile, Zelda returned the Master Sword of the fallen hero to the Great Deku Tree, prior to entering, similarly to Link, into a state of cryopreservation.
The Sheikah, feeling guilt for Calamity Ganon's takeover, Link's fall, and their foolish plan to unleash the Guardians and Divine Beasts, ultimately used the 4 Sheikah pillars surrounding Hyrule Castle to seal the evil beast. However, the infuriated king, who probably survived the war, was not pleased, and despite the Sheikah's effort to limit the damage, banished them from the land of Hyrule. It's likely that some of them complied with the king's order and went underground in the Sheikah shrines, waiting to aid the hero when the time would eventually arrive, while others refused to submit to the king and defected, leading to a split within the Sheikah tribe. Hyrule over time declined, and with the Sheikah in hiding or unwilling to cooperate, the kingdom collapsed and the land did not return back to its former glory, which brings us to the ruined Hyrule 100 years later.
Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, then please like, share and comment, and most importantly, subscribe to Commonwealth Realm, Dr. Wily and Zeltic. And if you wondered where part 2 about present times is, then click right here to watch it at Dr. Wily's channel. Finally, in terms of the next episode of Inside Breath of the Wild, we will be giving you the following choice: races and factions or shrines and divine beast dungeons.